the sapiosexual platter.
A continent that has turned its back against its practices and its spirituality, African religion. Where would we go forward as a continent, the African continent, if we have forgone the practices that our ancestors and the people before us practiced, all in the name of modernity? Are we compromising ourselves? On today's episode of the Sapiosexual Platter, we are investigating African spirituality. What is African spirituality? What does it look like? And what are the ramifications of having let go of it for so long and adopted other religions? My name is Belse Abo Ame.
I am Shatani Somalakai.
And this is
the Sapiosexual Platter. Joining us to discuss this pertinent topic is a traditional healer. He's popularly known for his miracle remedy that moves you from failing to conceive to having children. This miracle potion also allows you to have enjoyable time in the bedroom and many other benefits. His name is Otsile Molefe.
Welcome, sir.
Welcome.
How?
Erra. Yamira go amogela. On the Sapiosexual Platter. For our international audience, we just said that in our vernacular, which is Setswana, that we welcome him to the Sapiosexual Platter. And we're very excited to hear more about African spirituality, as it's obviously taken the back seat. In the new year, everybody has been praying to their God. Christians have gone to church. Those who like the zodiac or astrology have gone and consulted and asked what's in the stars for Aquarius, for Leo, for Scorpio. We know the Muslims also have their own traditions and people all over the world. But the question is, what about Africa? So maybe you can start off by sharing a little bit about yourself, and then we can go into African spirituality.
Okay. My name is Otsile Molefe from Mochudi. I'm a traditional healer. I could say, when you break it down, the context of the word traditional healer, a lot of people shy away from it. So I could say I'm that person who's in this generation who rejected or was not forced into believing a lot of what is being fed to them. Yes. Wow. So basically that is me. So when I say traditional healer, I've got, or I know of practices that are ancient, that were adopted from my grandfather, who was a traditional healer. His father was a traditional healer. His grandfather was a traditional healer. His great-grandfather was a traditional healer. So my grandfather taught me a lot of what was dished to him that he saw throughout his lifetime. You know, he practiced until he was 98 and passed away at 99. So really, I have a great wealth of ancient practices within me. So that is where I would say traditional, because that is where it comes from. Yes.
Would you spoke about how your great-grandfather, your grandfather, they were all healers. Would you say it's genetic or it's passed down a certain lineage? How can one become a healer? An African traditional healer?
You know, with me it's different. It's not a calling. I could say what I was told was my mother had problems with conceiving. And then my grandfather did what he did, and then I was conceived.
Wow.
So basically it is in my DNA.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so it comes easy. It's just like breathing.
Wow.
So I see a lot of things that I am not taught but I pick up
innately.
Yes. So.
Wow, that is so fascinating because it draws me to the introduction that she made about you. And she talked about this miracle potion.
Yes.
That you've been healing the masses with, and it's people have given testimonies that it's working.
Yes.
And it's so interesting because now I see the seed of why you went into that niche, because your mother was struggling to conceive, and you were conceived, and you realized that there is a remedy. And was that how the path was born? Like, how did you establish this?
It came naturally, really. I think it's always been, I've always had that drive of women are suffering. So as a traditional healer, you are taught a lot of things. But I chose to focus and specialize on the human reproductive health. So with human reproductive health, then came the problems of, not conceiving, period pains, and just the nightmare of being a woman. But I knew that there's something that, there's remedies out there. And anciently, people did not live or were not imprisoned by being a woman. So there's ways in which, natural ways, in which a woman can feel or live free of pains and the horror that comes with being a woman.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'm wondering the level of empathy that you have applied towards women and it's shaping the journey of you becoming a traditional healer and focusing on that niche. How did it come about? Why in particular women? What was the thing that made you so empathetic to the everyday struggles of a woman? And what's the role of a woman spiritually and in the African context, African spirituality?
My belief is I'm a spirit, you are a spirit, she's a spirit. And you can never say this is a new spirit, or this is an old spirit, or this is a worn-out spirit. A spirit is a spirit. It doesn't have age. It's a spirit. So I don't know how it came about that I picked this up and focused so much on it that it worked so well. Because I was not told by anybody that if you take this and that and you give it to, or you prepare it this way and then you give it to a lady, this is what would happen. No. It just came about. I just, when you talk to me, things start reading into me and I just do that. I don't question it. I've sat with a few professors there by the university, and when they ask me questions of why this remedy, when I do explain, they say, where did you get that? That is too scientific. But I don't know anything about science. So, so it comes like that. So I just let it, I just go with the wind, like a butterfly. Yeah.
So it sounds to me like you have this unique ability to just tap into source, if we're using that language. Would you classify that as African spirituality?
I wouldn't classify it as African spirituality. I would say that every single one of you possesses that. It's just in you to how do you unlock it? How do you get to really amplify that in you? Because it's in us. It's in all of us. Yeah. So I don't think I have special powers or anything. No, I'm just as natural as you are. But I've taken time to be silent and observe and relax and let things flow.
Yeah.
I'm feeling healed.
Yes. Tell myself take a deep breath.
Just take a deep breath.
Relax and be silent within myself. What would you say is African spirituality then?
African spirituality basically is, the practices that our ancestors lived by. There's therapies, there's healing ways and many things that we observed with the universe and the environment around us, that we were so in contact and together with everything that is around us that we could do so many things. We could predict the next season, we could make it rain, we could do so many things. But with modernity, as you say, and us going to school and us being told what to believe in and being tested on, and we quickly decided that it was we needed to change. So we a lot of people felt that it was not fashionable, not good practice. There's better ways, there's better things that we can do. And then we kept on forgetting where we come from as Africans and what our practices should be. Right now it's the beginning of the year, and as Africans, we know that with every journey, with the beginning of every journey, with the beginning of every season, there's a way in which we cleanse ourselves and prepare for good fortune within that journey, throughout the journey. So we protect ourselves from anything that is negative, and anything that is negative could be, say, maybe you are a farmer and you plant maize. What is negative would be pests. What is negative would be hail. What is negative would be any natural occurrence that would kill your crop. So we know anciently how you prepare or you guard yourself or you guard your field against that, against hail, against pests, against birds, against anything. So with life, we know as Africans how you prepare, how you protect, and how you guard yourself against or throughout that journey of life. So a lot of us don't do those things that we saw our grandparents put us through, because we think it was old-fashioned. And a lot of us now go with what the masses say is good. A lot of African spirituality is not openly spoken about because people shy away from it. People don't want to be labeled as old-fashioned. People don't want to be labeled as you've got voodoo type or witchcraft type tendencies. But that is us, Africans. That is how we carried our things, and that is what we did. So we've lost a lot of that.
Wow. So what I understand with what you're saying is that African spirituality acknowledges or believes in different facets of the human life, and it touches upon all of them. It's not separate from the public, like how religions are with Christianity, with Islam, where you have a doctrine separate from the person. Whereas with African spirituality, it's a part of us, it's within us, that affects so many things that are holistic. So is that what you're trying to say, that African spirituality is holistic in nature and it's different from religion?
Yes. And I could say, like I say, we're all spirits. When somebody comes and is from an Islamic or Christian or whatever line, Africans don't discredit or don't talk ill of that. They accept it. But those practices discredit Africans. I don't know why. Yes. But Africans, because we believe that everything is spiritual, we accept it as it is. And we live with it as it is. We don't want to change it, but we find ourselves being changed by other people and influenced by other traditions and other practices.
Why do you think that why is it that African spirituality is so accommodating? Because the very nature of how we are is the same thing that also corroded our own culture. Why do you think that is so? Why is it so easy to influence the African spirit? Why is it so?
Our tradition doesn't, we don't fight for or through seasons. When it's winter, we know it's winter. And we know it will stretch until it ends. We accept it as that. When it rains, we know it can rain, it can get dry, but we just have to live through it.
Acceptance.
We accept what is around us. That is Africans. So when you fight it and you want to influence it in many other ways, you just taint it.
You kill the essence of what it's all about.
You kill yourself. You kill so many things that have to do with the spirits. So if we accepted that we are all spirits, we are here now. If I can tell you, 200 years ago, probably somebody from your lineage was there somewhere. We don't know what they were doing. I can tell you, 100 years from now, there's still going to be people living, but we should just know that we are, on the journey we're passing through. And it will pass through us, and it will go to a different generation, just as it keeps going. So the question is, with the generations, what are we losing?
Yes.
And how are we preserving? That is what worries me a lot, that we are losing so much, and we are losing so much so fast because it was decampaigned by certain people who knew how to play with the mind. And it was so decampaigned that we don't have the budget as Africans to recampaign it.
Sure.
So we'll keep losing and losing and losing to whoever is powerful and has the budget to keep influencing people's minds. So I'm happy that you guys have a platform like this that can reach as far as it can go, and topics like this keep coming up, and people will change their minds, people will focus on other things, people will want to explore certain things within them. Yes, because it's within you.
Wow. Thank you for that. But I would like to just beg to differ with your point about losing the African ethos. My own understanding, I did a master's in international development, so I studied sub-Saharan Africa extensively. And in part of my studies, I was curious also as to why is the loss of information taking place. But in my research, I came to understand that the African way or culture is different from, or the African spirituality is very different from Christianity and Islam. With Christianity and Islam, those are religions that are in a way separate from the public form, and they are also coded and written in text. But because the African spirituality is holistic in nature and it's ever encompassing, it also recognizes that nature is ever evolving and nothing stays the same. It's always a constant evolution in all facets of life. And the oral nature in which things are passed down was catering for that season, to say, in this season, this is what we are focused on, this is what we're dealing with, and we pass it in an oral form, knowing that containing it within a text is also eroding the ethos of the African spirit, which is ever evolving. So I would say that yes, indeed, we lose a lot of our knowings, but isn't that part of the African spirit, the ever evolving and changing, and how ever so encompassing it is of the holistic nature of life and how it's ever changing?
It is, you're right. But when you look at Christianity and how it was documented, African spirituality is not as documented as Islam or Christianity in a Bible form, and has preachers and churches that keep on reminding people every Sunday or every other day that way. African spirituality was not it is a practice that, yes, a lot of detailed or special functions within it are passed on through, like my grandfather, through your lineage or orally.
Yeah.
Yes. But at the same time, it wasn't a secret. It was just that at the time there were people who moved away from it because, somebody gave them something else.
Yeah.
That was much more fashionable looking.
Or even tangible.
Yes.
The fact that somebody's coming to you with a book and saying, this is it, it's the truth, and here it is in a book, and then contrasting it with African spirituality, which is oral, passed down orally. It's the one that's more concrete would be the book.
I'll tell you a story my grandfather told me. My grandfather was born 1914. He tells me that when he was young, there's people who came dressed in robes to Muchudi. These people arrived at the Khotla and they spoke to the Khosi at the time that they wanted to baptize him. These people were Christians. And when they told him that they wanted to baptize him so that he could be a Christian also, they also told him that he has to have one wife. At the time, he had 2 wives. He had 2 homes. And he had to live and choose one of the homes. So if as a tribe you see that happen, and if as a tribe you see somebody influence, somebody who would be that high as a leader, it goes down to you to say that, but this might be the right path. Because if a whole chief can leave one wife and one home and one children and choose one just because they were influenced by these people who said they can do this to him, then he would be accepted by that. So it just goes to show how much influence that this movement can have on Africans. There's people who reject it, and they still live like me and you. And I'm one of those people that rejected it. Yes, I went to primary, just as you guys. And I stayed in the city, just as you guys. I've got siblings, I've got cousins, but the path I took is different from all of them. And at the time that I decided to take that path, I was looked at as, this guy is crazy. But they look at me now, they're thinking, no.
Maybe he knew something.
Yeah. Because he's living lavish.
Because he's living good. So maybe talk about, what do you think the ramifications of that rejection of identity, when you, just compare your life with those that accepted other practices, other religions? What do you think they are?
I'll talk about my cousins. I'll talk about my close family. When my grandfather was alive, they looked at him and his practice as, we'll just do that because you say we should do it. But alone, we don't want to do it. Yeah. So now when he's gone, they realize that we lost a lot. We wish we had sat with him to understand what he was doing and because we can see now that it's all gone. And we don't have that umbrella above us or that shield around us that protects us from so many misfortunes that we're going through. So that loss and that decay with spirituality comes that way. Because now when you have to borrow something that you don't understand, that was not in your lineage, from another or a different tradition, it becomes all a mess.
Wow. And how does one resolve that mess?
At some point in your life, you just need to trace your lineage back as to who you are. You have a surname. Everybody has a surname. You need to find out where that surname comes from, what those people did, what their influence in the community was. You You might come from a lineage of cattle thieves. You know, you might come from a lineage of pastors or of traditional healers, of businessmen, of business people. You know, you have to find out where you are from and who is gone and who is looking over you spiritually, and what they would accept and what they would be proud of to say that person who's holding our name, who's alive now, is actually doing this. So they would give you that back up and that backing. So if you don't have that, you've really lost a lot, and you will never perform to your true capacity.
I think that's what we believe on the sapiosexual platter, that your identity and just that intrinsic knowledge of yourself is what leads to success. And the fact that Africans aren't able to dominate on the international platforms and are, we're constantly subject of, lots of trickery and all of that, is because we just lost our identity.
Yes.
And so you just saying that just adds a whole other layer to it, to say, look, you can never really perform to your fullest potential if you do not know where you come from.
There's a lot of people who come to me as a healer to say that I want you to help me get a promotion. I want you to help me and my business progress and so many other things, but a lot of them I tell, there's so much I can do or influence, but there's a whole lot that has to come from you. And the fact that you think there's somebody who can propel you to that just shows that you are lacking something.
Sure.
You're lacking something in you.
Yes. I actually even want to understand how that works. Before we get to that, you said something so interesting that really moved me inside about if my ancestors were looking at me now as the current seed of their lineage, would they look at what I'm doing and be happy about it and bestow favor on it? And I thought that was such a powerful point, because in the introduction, we talked about how a lot of Africans have turned their backs against their way of life, and there was a big belief in ancestors. So I just want you to break it down for the audience. What are ancestors? And when they become ancestors, are they like deities? And what is their role in African spirituality?
When Christians talk of Jesus or God and other religions, we as Africans spoke of our roots and where we come from, not somebody else's. So we don't have an Adam or a Joseph from the Bible or or names that don't have surnames. We have surnames, and those surnames will lead you back to who you are. And when you lose that, because say maybe as a woman you are married, so maybe you move to the UK or you move to Nigeria, and then you are married into a Romo or a different Zulu, like that. As a woman, that is you as a woman. You're not a man. A woman and a man will never be the same. You don't plant seeds. You receive the seed. But if a man was to say maybe born out of wedlock, and then your mother never tells you who your father is, you will forever be lost. But when you do get to know who your father is, and then you pursue to look for your father, because you want to get to the bottom of who you are, so that you can get the direction of where you should go and what you should look for and what can guide you. You can still get rejection from your father to say that I don't want to have anything to do with you. But the fact that you attempted to find them, they will find you.
Powerful.
Yeah.
They will find you. And they will lead you. to where you're supposed to go.
And what are they?
What are the ancestors?
What are the ancestors? Like,
you know, the fact that African spirituality is not written down and defined, and the fact that when I say to you a spirit, you cannot define a spirit. So I can't define it. It is something that I can't say, you know, this is a spade or this is a rake or this is, it looks like this. I don't know how it looks like.
yeah.
But it's a powerful spirit that is out there that we know exists. You know, when you throw the bones, for you to have that connection with the bones, it has to do with, these bones are from animals that are dead. But the spirit of that bone, because that is a cow, and we know what the cow or cattle bring to you. That is an elephant. We know how powerful the elephant is in relation with other animals. That is the lion. We know the spirits of those. We incorporate them, then we can tell a story. So you incorporate those that are gone, that are from your lineage, into what you do. You get guidance from there.
I want to ask about your relationship with Christianity. Botswana being, or most people will classify Botswana as a Christian nation. And, you know, I'm sure you interact with Christians. I think maybe some come for your consults, I might think. What's your relationship with them? What do they think of you? How do you explain yourself, if ever?
When I was young, my mother would take us to church. And I never really connected with church. It was maybe the worst 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours of my Sunday or my Saturday when I'm at church. But I didn't reject it. I just didn't feel it's my place. And as I grew, I got interest in other religions. You know, so I wanted to go and download what they have that we don't have, that makes them better than us in society. And then I had a little bit of background from Christianity. I went and downloaded what I did from Islam, and I became a better person in everything with my background of my tradition as well. So I don't reject any of them, but I equip myself with all of them. It gives me a better focus on life and direction.
But you know what Christians would say about that, right?
What?
Well,
what would they say?
well, I mean, you know that Christianity is a monotheistic religion, which means they believe that they worship one God, and that the worship of or acknowledgement of anything outside of Christianity is idolatry. And so I can imagine, you know, anybody who's staunch Christian watching this and they're cringing, like, what is that man saying? Go download from Islam, go download from the Hindus, the Buddhists. That goes against the inherent doctrine of what Christianity is all about.
But if I was to ask you to take all those words that you just mentioned and put them in Setswana, you will not find them.
Yo.
So it is not our tradition.
Yo.
We don't reject.
Wow.
I mean, okay.
That is powerful.
It's what Christians practice. It's not what we practice.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
You know what? I actually have a consciousness for it because I was recently watching Dr. I don't want to butcher her name, but
we can insert it with text.
Yeah. And so she was talking about this concept of decolonizing language.
Yeah.
And saying, she was actually speaking about traditional doctors and witch doctors, and because she comes from South Africa. So even with all the languages she knows in South Africa, there's no such term. You can't put witch and doctor together. So it's not even within the context of the culture to have such a concept. Witch doctor is derived from the Englishman's understanding of things, his
articulation.
Yeah, his articulation and his attempt at trying to understand and appreciate something, or maybe impose his own understanding on it, and therefore a term like witch doctor emerges. So my consciousness and the resonance from what you just said is, if you are a Motswana, if you are an African, and inherently your ethos is acceptance, then you can't take another religion and another ideology, apply it to yourself, and I don't know, that's certainly not wisdom. I think it's certainly not.
What would you say then about spirituality in Botswana as a whole, and then from Botswana to Africa? To just say, in African worldview, it's like when you're sick, the sickness just doesn't come from your body having ailments. It could be your spirit having issues. It could be your spirit having turned its back against its own lineage, itself, its ancestors. And that in itself causes a sickness. So when you look at a continent full of people who are practicing that, please just share with the audience and with us, what are the ramifications of being in such a state? And then after that, how do we come out of the state?
There's nations and countries that reject people that come from outside because of what they could influence in their community. Africans are welcome. We accept anybody and we will live with anybody, and we will listen to whoever. And if you get to a place where there's a lot of people who are in hardship, and you tell them of a good place that you could, have the milk and the honey, and if you were to do this is how you could, get there fast, we will all fall in. So that is what was dished to us. This is heaven, and when you get there, it is like this. So submit to this, and this will happen. So leave whatever you're doing and do it this way, and this is what is going to happen. That is where we lost it. So honestly, when we talk of Christianity now and we talk of Botswana now, we are more influenced by Africans who came and spoke more of Christianity. It wasn't Africans from South Africa. It wasn't Africans from Namibia. There's a lot of Africans from Nigeria and all those other countries. The fire churches were not there in 1980, 1982. They didn't exist. There's a time when they became popular, and they brought a certain change to Christianity and the churches that they found, your Anglicans and your cathedrals, and there's an evolving trend that comes with age that will change the way that people do things. But it's all in somebody is playing with your mind with regards to your wealth and your prosperity. And if they can have that topic and tell you that this is how you can get out of this situation, they have you. So I do not hear of any radio station here in Botswana that talks of traditional healing. I do not see any traditional healer perform any ritual at any gathering, be it the stadium when the president is being inaugurated or anything of that sort. It's always Christians. Why? But when all these leaders need help to progress, they secretively come to us. Why? Why do we not tell everybody that to progress, let's go back to our roots? because they all go back to our roots. All those pastors,
even the pastors,
you know, with me
please
here,
explain what a consult with a pastor looks like.
With me here, a lot of, you know, pastors would call just like anybody. I want to make an appointment with you, but can I please come at a time when there's nobody around? Because I cannot be seen at a traditional healer. It is wrong because that is what I tell my congregation not to do. They come, we sit, and the conversation, you know, I'll listen to you. I will not judge you. I'll listen to what you are bringing in front of me, and I'll see how I can assist you. But, you know, most of them do honestly say, you know what, we do this because we were told to do this. You know, we are initiated into this, and we are told that this is what we should preach. But we know it's not our culture, and we know that when we lose a step from where we came from, we lose a lot. So we know that whenever we need to progress and get that power, we always have to go to the roots. And you are the roots. I think a lot of the younger pastors are starting to really question it, of what they were taught or what they were told to do and not to do. And whatever they questioned, you know, they are really coming out to say, no, this is not African, this is not us. You know, we might do it for the position that I get with my church, but no. We need to start being soft about what we are saying people should be against, which is African.
I mean, I just wonder if you're a congregant of a church and if you had the idea that the pastor at your church, you know, comes here, how does that change the face of Christianity for that individual? And how does it change our perspective of, you know, African spirituality in the country, knowing that, you know, some of the leaders who are in top positions, in fact, are connected, yet we're disconnected. I think that's a very interesting point to ponder on.
Wow.
I also wonder, like, what do you think is the fear with embracing African spirituality, aside from the, you know, indoctrination? What do you think the fear is?
No, I don't understand why people fear to be themselves and why people fear to openly speak of, you know, what they practice. I really don't understand because I've never done it, so I've never really understood it. Yes, I've got, you know, close people who don't openly talk about it and who shy away from it. You know, there's different stages of life. And there's when you are in primary, and then you are a junior, and then high school, and then you go to university, and then you start getting into the workspace. And then you start seeing a lot of things that you did not know. You start opening a whole lot of fights with things that you don't understand. And then at that point, you start now wanting to consult the traditional healer. And then the door that they open to you and make you aware of about the people that surround you at the level that you are, because now you are not a girl, you are a woman. You are supposed to be a leader, is now you are at the right place, at the right time, and this is now what you have to do. At a certain level in your life, you will accept that. Gore sepe sa gago se se go dikaganyeditseng se se ka sa go swela go ne go beiwa phogwana ga se so se o beilwe phogwana wena batho ga o batle go ba phogwana batho wa bona gore bana ba bantsi ba ba tsalwang gompieno ba na le makoa a mantsi ka gore ga ba bewa diphogwana ga o ka ya go dipatela wa lebelela di-statistics tsa bana ba e leng gore ga ba tsoge sentle ka makoa a farologaneng a masesanenyana ga gore wa lebelela gore ngwana o tshotswe ke motho o ka nka but you cannot go from here to South Africa with a Mascom phone and expected to catch Mascom there in South Africa. This is where we are. Practice what we practice. If you are in Rome, do what the Romans do. This is the connection and the network of where we are. So if you're going to reject it, you will have no signal.
Wow. I think those should be the last word, because that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot to ponder on, to digest, and I'm sure it's activating a lot of people. So for those who want to consult with you or come for medicine, how can they reach you?
For medicine, you can contact me, or you can contact Rejuvenate Spa, which is the distributor in Botswana. If you're in South Africa, you can go to my page, or in Namibia or in Zimbabwe, you can go to my page. You can get the distributors in the different countries. The contacts are there. And then, yeah, if you want to get hold of me, to get my contacts, you go to Facebook page, Otsile Molefe, and then just go to inbox. At inbox, the response is my contact number.
Yeah. I think there's a lot more to touch on, in fact, and I think we would definitely come back.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so much in terms of, knowledge,
Yes.
systems,
Yes.
Would be curious about your thoughts on what's happening legally, what's happening in the education system, in health, and what do you think the ideal Botswana should look like? Say if you were the president or the leader and you had the power to influence where Botswana goes, what does that Botswana look like?
Honestly, our country is so preserved with so much natural medicine. We are not industrial. We have a lot of wildlife. We have a lot of wild spaces. So our country really is a pharmacy. The only thing that is a problem now is we have so much medicine that people don't know how to use. As a nation, we would be the healthiest nation.
Wow.
So if you were to live here and go to America or wherever, a lot of people would look at your skin and tell you that you are not from here. So we have that type of knowledge on what is natural and how you should use it. And a lot of diseases and a lot of ailments and a lot of pills that we're taking now, we should not be taking, really, because the human body wasn't created that way. What traditional medicine does to the human body, there's nobody who can tell you scientifically and prove it to you. But we know it, and we know how fast it works and how good it works, and we know what it does to the body. It doesn't take away the pain, but it reminds the body of how it should function.
Well, there you have it. It's a new year. Maybe it's the time for you to turn a new leaf in terms of your spirituality. Start exploring. Start seeing what's out there. But maybe listening to Molefe, start looking inside. My name is Shatani Samalakai.
And I am Belsabo Ame.
And this is
the
Sapiosexual Platter.
Before we go, I would like to pose a question. What would happen to a tree without roots? I would like you to please leave a comment in the comment section below, and please go to the description bar where you would find the contact details of Molefe and a link to his Facebook page and where you could reach him. Thank you so much for watching.